our wages were well below the competitors' wages. Some of the other areas were safety.
Frank Gonzalez was unhappy with conditions at Tampa Manufacturing in San Antonio, Texas. He helped organize his co-workers to improve those conditions.
Tin roof shops.
When we took our jobs, we were told that we were not to discuss our salaries. And when we started to talk to each other and tell each other our salaries, we discovered that those of us that were there 12 years were being paid the same amount of money as new employees coming in.
Lorraine Murley didn't feel listened to when she complained about those wage policies, so she organized the office employees at Lafayette College. She and all the others gathered here have been involved in organizing a union at their work sites, a hospital, a sewing factory, a heavy equipment manufacturing company, and an electronics firm. All very different places, all very different people, with a common goal, gaining union representation in their workplace. They came together today to let us see and hear just what happened when they organized their co-workers. We'll also be hearing from others with similar experiences.
Some welders, some cases, would be welding in water puddles when it rained. We had shops, there are tin roof shops that would raise in the areas of 120 degrees inside the shops. We had shops with 35, 40 people in the shop, and there was only one restroom, one washroom.
Well, there was a lot of things. The reason why we started organizing was because our wages, for one thing. All of our benefits weren't equal, really. Our working conditions, the lint was so bad, you had to go to the doctor to, have your chest would hurt you all the time for the lint. Now you're sitting there sewing, and they got these automatic cutters that cuts that lint off. And you'd breathe that all day long. A lot of people, would have what they call black lung in the coal mines, but ours would be white. And just working conditions was terrible. Air conditioning, no such thing as air conditioning.
I think that that's the main reason a lot of people organize. No one minds doing a good day's work, but let's be treated fairly and let's be treated halfway decent.
So I signed my union card, and the next meeting I heard about, which was a week later, I went. And I was deeply moved. I was terribly impressed. And then I really realized, that the only way that we was going to get any kind of benefits, any kind of decent way of being treated was through a union. And I started right then, wholeheartedly.
In the beginning, I was sort of laid back and wanted to find out what was going on. I didn't know much about unions other than what has always been publicized, strikes and various things that supposedly hurt the people, employees. And so I was somewhat skeptical at first, but I think the best approach that was taken to our campaign was that our people were first educated on their rights and their power through the National Labor Relations Board to obtain an election. That when we started putting our committee together and we started organizing, signing people on cards, we were all very confident and sure of ourselves of what we could do.
I think I first got involved in the union. The campaign had already started along, and I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. And so a friend of mine said, would you like to go to a meeting with me? So I went to the meeting, and I sat there and listened. I thought about it for a few days. And finally, I just said, yeah, I think they're right. And it's very hard for people to understand when you have someone walking in from a street, from a local union office, saying, believe me, don't believe your employer anymore. It's very hard for people to make the one choice, yeah, I guess they're right.
I finally got involved in it. Then I wasn't allowed to go to the bathroom. I wasn't allowed to talk to nobody. I wasn't allowed to get up to put my parts in where they saved everything to have it recycled.
My husband and I had a discussion in June, and he pointed this out to me and said that you must realize what you're doing and realize that you can lose, but you can also win. And he said, if you lose, they'll have ways of getting rid of you. And of course, this gave me more drive. I really was gung-ho to win because I didn't want to lose my job.
Fear is their main objective. If they can get you fearful of your rights, and they're fearful of them, then they've got you. But the main thing is you've got to be aware of what you can do back to them. Tell them you're not afraid, even though you are. Don't let them know it.
Fear and intimidation are the classic weapons for an employer to use when faced with an organizing drive for a union. But Pat McGinn tells of a new weapon, the union buster.
The attitude in the building changed almost immediately. The union busters came in. They were hired from West Coast Industrial Relations out of California. And they brought them right in, and attention. They tried to divide the two groups of people to create a loyalty committee to the employer, and then all the pro-union people we were the bad ones. We were the ones creating the tension. And it wasn't the anti-union consultants. They're trying to put the blame on us for all the tension that was there. They kept trying to divide us and divide us. And they do things like, not only would they do things to harass us, they do things to harass the people who were being loyal to the company.
Right.
Therefore, the people who were being loyal to the company would think that we were doing it to them.
And it was simply the union busters starting tales and rumors
Trying to
through
just keep-
supervisors.
to keep
They
the
would tell
people
the
divided.
supervisors, you know, you tell this. You take this back inside there, and you tell this to someone, some anti-girl, and you tell them that the union girls started this. And, you know, then it's going to go wild through the factory, you know, and bluegrass is great for a grapevine.
Hearings in the last Congress.
Congressman Phil
I have
Burton,
here
chairman of the House Labor
official
Management
report of
Subcommittee,
the,
summarizes a congressional
subcommittee.
report on union busters
report.
prepared by his subcommittee.
That concludes that these hired union-busting anti-labor consultants have worked with a rather clear pattern. The pattern is to sow fear and concern among not only the workers, but even the more so among some of those that organize in the belief that if they can intimidate those of you that have shown the courage of your conviction, that perhaps that fear can spread throughout the shop or the unit that you're seeking to organize and get the workers to vote against their self-interest. It's a pretty difficult thing for someone sitting in Washington to tell those of you on the front line that you've got to keep the faith. But the trade union movement is committed to a thoroughgoing organizing drive. They have a great number of friends in the Congress who are committed to see that to the extent we're able to improve our elected officials in the House and in the Senate, that we're going to take steps to correct some of the very vicious and, in my view, unfair labor practices that some of you will be observing.
You always have to make a point, tell people that they are the ones who are creating the tension. It is not us creating the tension, it is the anti-union consultants doing this. And why would I be trying to create so much tension for you? Because after everything's all over and done with, I'm the one who's going to have to live with the conditions afterwards. I'm still going to be in the bargaining unit. I'm still going to have to live by the terms of the contract. This modern, modern management or West Coast, whichever union buster it is, they're going to be long gone. They don't care what your conditions are going to be like. I'm the one who's going to be here with you.
Union busting firm that Mercy Hospital hired was Modern Management's Methods. And this firm stayed in the background. We never saw them. They made the supervisors the heavies. I mean, the supervisors were the ones that were coming up and saying, I want you to read this. You don't need a union.
Yeah, education is the best solution. You have to let the people know that they have rights to organize in many areas, and you have to also inform the people on what the company may do to you.
Yeah. What the company will do and all the harassment you get, what they'll say, what they'll do.
To expect, and what to expect is anything and everything.
Bend the truth anyway.
Let nothing surprise you.
As Joanne Richmond mentioned, she works at Bluegrass Industries in Kentucky. At that plant, as at others, efforts to intimidate workers backfired and brought them closer together. This scene is from a tape of a television interview outside the plant.
There's a big riot today. That's what's going on. They're going up and down the aisles, blowing horns, and there's been at least 4 girls or 3 pass out, and a lot of them's had to go home with their nerves.
And one of them's right here.
Yes, this is Faye Willoughby.
Faye, what happened this morning?
Well, sir, they were just running all over the factory, screaming, hollering, blowing their whistles. And
who was running all over the factory?
Well, the floor ladies and mostly the all the antis.
not wanting the union.
Right.
Are you for the union?
Yes, I am.
Are all of you for the union?
That we were able to get a jump on the company through experiences with other locals. When they organized, they told us of the things that would happen, what to expect in the shops. So when we go back into the plant after the meeting that afternoon, the next morning we go into the plant, and sure enough, they do the exact same things we were told about at the meeting before.
Right.
So that we knew we were not being lied to. We knew that this was a fact, you know, that these things were going to happen. They were standard as far as companies' anti-union campaigns.
As an organizing campaign comes down to the wire, union supporters get together to plan strategy and just plain encourage and support each other.
The hell with it, or quit, or fight for it. So I said, well, why can't I keep running from job to job when I have rights on a job? We can stand up and fight what we want.
Lily Graves refused to be intimidated by an anti-union campaign and led the organizing drive at Canadian Mills in Freeport, Texas.
I thought about all that. I said, hell, we need to fight for what's right. So that's why we took it off there. Room sure looks empty. Everybody needs to be here next week. You know, we're going to look for you to have them here. That's going to be your job for Saturday, 2 o'clock. And I'm glad y'all came out. And Saturday, this room is going to be what?
And the room was full Saturday, and they won their election, just as many others do across the country. But it's never easy.
When we were counting the votes of management, there's a great big amount of them. There was about 20 of us because they wouldn't let the people in the building who weren't working to be in there to count the votes, so we looked like we were a small group. And they were all so upset and everything. Like, we were just so happy. They were just intimidation right up to the very last minute.
The scare tactics up until the time of the election, the day of the election, I remember the day of the election, having confronted the union Buster, the management consultant that the company hired. We were there with the discharge. We had a discharge. One of our leaders was fired. We went all the way up. We filed discrimination charges because of his involvement with the union. And up until that day when we walked into the room, I remember the union buster pointing the finger out at the discharge and say, tell him to get the hell out of here. He's not an employee of this company. So there we corrected the union buster and said that we're familiar with the law, we have charges pending, and we are going to use him as the observer for the union. So he was
not all campaigns are successful the first time, but experience shows time is on the side of the workers. Is it all worthwhile? Listen.
After you've ratified and you've got your contract, it's sitting right in your hand, and you know exactly what you're going to be making within a certain period of time, and you know that a contract is a legal binding document, and it all comes from the education and stuff, and you've got it right there in your hand, and it's right in black and white. It just makes you feel so good that you know that you have to do that.
You know that you have grievance and arbitration, and you know that the management is now bound by this contract. No matter, they cannot play these games anymore because you have got a contract and you have people educated that know what the contract means to enforce the contract. So that management cannot do that anymore.
Your gains are so great after you've won because they recognize your seniority. Promotions and transfers and the grievance procedure is just the greatest gains that you can get by being unionized. And job classifications, and they must treat you fairly.
We ratified our first contract last night, and it was great because we had people there that were anti-union before, and everybody was there. Everybody wanted to know what was in the contract. Everybody was asking questions. And there was just a great big attitude of, now we have limited the rights of management. They cannot do whatever they feel like anymore. We have gained some control over our working conditions and our wages, and it was a really good experience to see everybody walking out of there, which was unanimously recommended.